Hey everyone, I'm Felix, Raidlead and Guild of Eternal Ravens on Black Hand EU on retail WoW. My position is, as mentioned, Guild Lead and Raid Lead, and today I want to talk about just that, about something that I'm very passionate about, and this is managing, organizing, and leading a Mythic Raid guild. We are currently on 5 out of 8 Nerub'ar Palace. Like, we are progressing on Ovinox right now. Yeah, it's a challenge. We're not a cutting edge guild yet. This video is for everyone who is about that area. Like, you're pushing for your AOTC or starting your first steps into Mythic, and you're looking for some maybe advice, maybe some new, fresh ideas to keep the progress going. Yeah, let's jump into it and discuss what I have to say. First of all, you should start by setting goals. Clear goals are something that is very important and that gets more important over time. Everyone needs something to commit on something specific and go for that. For example, if you have players that want to go for cutting edge or AOTC, or let's say you have both players that on one hand want to have cutting edge and other players that want to go for AOTC. This is pretty much a mix up that can't really work together. Both groups tend to have a different mindset about what you can do and what you cannot do. So, goals give your guild a purpose. Make sure to be specific about those goals. Those goals should be the first thing that you kind of set up. Be specific about them. Don't be like, let's try our best or let's go as far as we can go, because you get nothing to go off of them. As far as we can go is not really specific. It can be one boss in Mythic, it can be two bosses in Mythic, it can be AOTC, it can be not even AOTC. Also set a time frame. Let's limit it to season, for example. Next season we want to reach AOTC, we want to reach 4 out of 8 bosses in Mythic, just to have that time frame in mind to go for. And something that I always have to double check me on: differentiate between your personal goals and your guild goals, okay? Because your ambitions can be higher than the one of the guild or lower than the one of the guild. So make sure to don't overshadow your guild goals with your ambitions. The key is balance. Set goals that are realistic but challenging, not too easy. People will get bored or people will get burned out. Let's talk about another, let's say, pain point when it comes to leading a guild, leading a raid, and that's recruitment. It's a huge part of any guild, and it kind of never really stops. It can be really challenging to set up your first raid ever. Even if we are talking about heroic raid, you need 10 people, you need 2 tanks, you need 2 healers at least, and plenty of DPS. But if you're talking about Mythic, you need 20 of those. You don't only need 20 people. You need people who align with your goals, values, and the vibe of the guild. So where do you start with all of that? You should look at first, do you need specific roles? Do you need specific classes to fill up your spots? Are there any buffs missing or anything? And also, do you value the raw skill more or the personality of the person? I tend to say at some point, you can teach someone how to play a game, but you cannot teach someone how to not be an asshole. So yeah, that's kind of my perspective on that. Maybe you want both of that. You want at least some amount of skill, I think. So yeah, how do you find those players? It depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for someone who's competitive, who is driven and compassionate about where you go, someone with ambitions, someone who really takes everything serious about the game, you might want to look towards Raid.io or warcraft logs and use the recruitment tools of those platforms to look for players who already use those tools and go from there. You have search functions and so on and so forth for specific roles, for specific classes, and yeah, put up your recruitment there if you're looking for a bit more skilled, let's say, players. If you're looking for more casuals, try the in-game chat, try guild-focused discords, or just post in the forum. Some people use it. From my experience, more older people use the forums, but well, maybe that's just me. When you found some players who you might consider to take into your guild, make sure to have a proper interview with them before you start off your journey together, because you want to check if the vibe is matching, make sure that the person is knowing what they get into. Ask questions like, what are you looking for in a guild? Check if it's the right fit for both sides, because a player who's really ambitious might be great for your AOTC guild and carrying the team through there with a lot of damage or healing or whatever it may be, but probably won't stick around for too long because you don't really match their ambitions. Or the other way around. Maybe there's a player who's really ambitious but don't really want to put in the time to do the things that are required. Let's assume you found someone. Let's assume you found 20 people. Maybe 22. What do you do then? Then the work is done, right? Not really. Managing a raid team is probably even more work than recruiting, because there are actually two key points which I notice take a lot of time and effort to manage properly. The first of those two things is time management. You need to make sure everyone is attending the raid nights. You need to figure out a time at first when you're raiding and so on and so forth. Let's assume you did that already. You need to make sure the people need to come to your raid, to take it seriously, to take accountability to those times. Many guilds do it in a kind of invitational thing where you have to check at least like, I'm attending. And from my experience, this is not really successful to at least the guilds I spoke to. So how do you solve that? I personally applied a opt-out version of that thing, because you can't really hope for players to not forget to apply. There are so many variables that can cause someone to not click on the I'm attending button. I use an opt-out system. I expect my people to be there, and even the bench players, to potentially fill up slots if someone cancelled on a short notice. In this way, you avoid last-minute surprises and keep your roster stable. Sometimes this happens, but most of the time people take accountability for their actions, and in this way everyone is responsible for their own time and say, okay, I commit on these 2 days, for example, to the raid nights, and I'm there. And if they cannot attend, it's okay, because, well, everyone is entitled to their own time. In this way they can say, hey, I cannot attend on Sunday because, well, I have to work there or something. And that's okay, because you got substitute players who also intend on that day. So you can fill up those slots. Next up to the second and probably more sensitive topic about managing a raid roster, and that's skill management. Let's be real. Everyone struggles here and there. And that's okay. Mistakes happens, and I'm not talking about that one time you missed a mechanic and kind of know how the mechanic works and you just messed it up one time. That's not what I'm talking about. That's something that happens, and you shouldn't make a big deal out of it. But there are times where someone doesn't really understand a mechanic, or has issues executing that mechanic, or just doesn't get the numbers right at some point or another, or on certain bosses. And it's your job as a raid lead especially to address those issues eventually, because those things can cause frustration to other players and the player itself too, because maybe he doesn't even know that there is an issue, or that he's playing it wrong, or something else. So make sure that you look at the progress of the player and look at how often does this actually happen. Is it some underlying key misunderstanding of the mechanic, and make sure that this isn't the fact. This is a topic I'm passionate about, and I'm struggling to get my point across sometimes. Let's face it. Your job is to spot the pattern. If there's someone who is constantly underperforming, no matter if it's mechanic or is it numbers or whatever, if a person is underperforming for a period of time or for specific bosses or whatever over and over again, it's your job to notice that pattern. Then you need to talk to those people and be like, okay, so I notice you struggle on this or that. How can I help you? Did you notice that you struggle on that one? Is there something that's missing? Do you need further explanation on something? There's no point in yelling at them or whatever, because it doesn't get you any further from there on. It just creates defensiveness and no one, that's not productive. So make sure to talk to those people to clear out some misunderstandings if there's some. If you did your best to clear out those things, there might be another thing that you need to look at. Is that person aligning with your guild's goals, with your raid wrestler goals? And do you want to keep them around? Because if you want to keep them around, there need to be taken action. Like, the person should not play a certain mechanic, or maybe has to take the bench for now, and you take a bench player in to give them a chance and to, well, give them time to improve, because improvement takes time. That's pretty important. You cannot expect someone to go from 0 to 100 within like a couple of bolts. That's not gonna happen, at least not at that skill level. So yeah, if you don't want to keep that person around, save everyone time and clear things up and be like, yeah, do you really think this is working? And if not, you might have to split ways. This is not really enjoyable to do. I understand that. I don't really like to do that myself, and I'm really not good at it. But sometimes it has to be done for the sake of everyone else and for the sake of the player as well, because the player might not be in an environment where they can strive. What are the key takeaways here? You gotta communicate your goals early and often, so everyone is on the same page with this. It's important that everyone understands the especially time commitment you're expecting of them, or the guild is expecting of them. There might be a lot of frustration within a raid group because some people don't put in the time and others do. So make sure to have some set of rules maybe, or some set of agreement on that thing, and assess those goals from season to season to season. Don't stick onto one thing and expect everyone to believe that. I did that mistake and it doesn't work well. So assess those goals over and over and over again. Make sure everyone is on the same page. When it comes to recruitment, recruit for quality and not for quantity. It does not make sense to throw in 20 random people into a raid and just expect them to clear it. Make sure to search for fitting players, for players who align with your goals, align with your vibe, so everyone is having a great time, yeah? Stay flexible, especially when it comes to reaching those goals. As mentioned, you need to reassess the goals and check on everyone if the goals are still realistic, or if you need to, well, set those goals higher or lower depending on your performance to actually have realistic goals. Raid rosters change, and therefore the goals should change as well depending on the situation. Sometimes people might have to quit because they can't put in the time, because they have more job responsibilities or family responsibilities or whatnot. So yeah, just go from there. And yeah, that's all for today. Thanks for listening. I hope some things might help here and there. I didn't really elaborate too much on some aspects, but if you want me to elaborate on specific things, or are curious about how we recruit, or what questions I'm asking when I recruit, or how to address certain situations regarding less skilled players, just let me know in the comments. I'll make sure to cover that topic then. And yeah, if you found this useful, make sure to hit that like button, and maybe even subscribe. I would appreciate it. It helps, yeah, growing the channel and me to fulfill what I do. So yeah, good luck everyone out there. Happy raiding, and yeah, enjoy your time.